Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, my daily bulletin show where I bring to you recruitment owners, advisors, suppliers, even investors to the global recruitment industry who are prepared to give up some of their time and share their experience of COVID-19 so that we all get through this better together. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Sam Whitaker over in Sydney. He's the MD of Blugibbon, a locum, basically doctor recruitment agency headquartered in Sydney, who are now starting to come out the back end of COVID-19, returning to work. I'm sure they've been busy. I'm sure they've had lots to do, and I think it'll be a very interesting story to tell. Before I do, I just want to mention our sponsors, Rise Recruitment Ventures. These guys are the newest recruitment investment business on the market. John and Alex both started and sold a recruitment agency within 10 years back in 2016 for over £20 million. They recruited in the social care space, a company called Liquid Personnel. And they built that up to over 140 staff, over 100 million turnover. And now they've started again, this time to help the next generation. So they're helping startups and newly formed early stage organizations to not only benefit from the cash they've got, but the expertise they've got to build world-class infrastructure so that you can scale and exit how they did. If you're interested to find out if they can help you or just want to ask some questions, these guys have got lots of time and they're always willing to help. Reach out to them via www.riserv.co.uk. Right, back to the show. Sam, welcome to the RAG Report.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on, mate. We've had a little pre-show chat, but for the listeners, my first question is always, what the hell's your life like right now? So I want to paint a picture so we can close our eyes and we can imagine what your life's like in Australia right now.
It's well, now I've just literally jumped on my bike back from the office. We've had the office closed for 9 weeks. We've just this week opened the doors again with 50%. Well, we're only allowed 4 people in the office at one time, given the size of the office, and just being really, really safe. So I was on my push bike trying to still maximize the infection and just get on the bike and enjoy that. Everyone else in the office is trying to do the same. So you're like not utilizing public transport.
Your office is right in the city, yeah? CBD?
Yeah, we're on George Street. We're on George Street, which if you know it, like it used to be quite a busy main road, but they've actually pedestrianised it now. And there's a tram line going up straight through it. It's a bit bizarre. It's quiet compared to normal. You see the trams going past, and they weren't really the most popular mode of transport before all this, but they're empty.
Yeah.
The buses are empty as well. There's a lot of people riding in. I've seen I think I got my bike serviced a couple of weeks ago and they couldn't get me in. They were like, you should see the amount of customers we've got that have got the bikes out of the garage, getting them serviced and getting that, making the most of the
I don't know if you're keeping on top of what's going on over here, back home for you, but the Sunday night announcement talked about the investment in both riding and walking. So the old ride to work scheme, I think there's going to be a couple of $100 million or something pumped into cycling now. So they're going to improve cycle lanes. And I think that'll be a really nice byproduct of what's gone on, that, the world, or London anyway, is even more, active. And I remember when I was at my recruitment agency, we used to have an office on Fleet Street in London. I don't know if you know it. It's like right in the heart, next to Blackfriars. And the cycle to work scheme was there. And I lived in Clapham North, and the Northern Line is an absolute shitter. Like, wake up in the morning, jumping on the Northern Line, you've got to headbutt 3 people just to get on. I was like, I'm going to cycle in. And then the week before I was about to do it, I was looking into bikes and all that. Someone got killed on Blackfriars Road.
Oh, no.
So I literally came out of my office and the person was like, there was like tape and lights and they'd been hit by a bus. And it just put me off. I was like, fuck that. I'm just going to jump on the Northern. But now I'm like, I don't know. You can't live your life that way. You've got to go out and try things, I suppose. So I'm thinking of getting a bike. So
Sydney's pretty hairy. Like, they keep opening these cycle lanes and then changing them the next week. My wife's not the biggest fan of it, but I love it. Like, I used to do it beforehand, but now it's just even more. And I think, as you say, like, to have something positive out of it, I think a lot of people Sydney, Australia in general, when everyone is new off the boat from the UK, they're like, I can't believe so many people are exercising outside. But from what I can see, my mates and family and stuff back home, they're really enjoying that limited time that they're allowed to go outside to exercise and make the most of it, and waving to people in the street and just doing things that they wouldn't normally do just to get out of the house because they're allowed that exercise time.
Yeah.
So here it's been the same as well. I mean, the beach is opened, and then we took advantage and they couldn't do the isolation. So they had like a World War II air raid warning that goes off, and you can hear it. I'm in Maroubra and you can hear it from here. And that basically, it's a shark alarm usually, but that was basically closing the beach because there's too many people on it or we're not respecting the rules. So, and that's quite a big thing here. Like that's what drew me to live in Australia, is the beach. And people felt vandalized that they couldn't go to the beach themselves. So it's back up and open. It's good. I mean, in the office itself, we've just got 4 of us. We've been told officially we can have 6, but we're just doing alternate desks. So there's 12 of us in the business. And I've kind of said to the team, look, it's optional to come in, but we obviously observe the rules, and we kind of sent around a bulletin on Friday. We obviously keep hygiene up to a high standard. Don't be hugging each other, doing anything silly. Try and avoid public transport. And it's been well received. I mean, but still there's certain anxiety, and I think it's not straight, but jumping in the deep end. Half the team have said, look, I'd prefer to kind of still work from home, and I think again it's kind of it's been an eye opener for me to actually. We've always promoted flexible working, and everyone's got a laptop and a mobile phone, so we've been we were set up luckily ready to go, but still it's like as a business owner you're like, I think actually. But the guys have got on and done it and dug deep, and it's been great.
Can you do us a favor then? Just go give us a really 1 minute overview of what's your business all about?
Medical recruitment. We started with a view to be different. There's a lot of medical recruitment companies out there that are quite corporate. I found from going to conferences and stuff and getting to know the doctors and building up personal relationship with the doctors, they're not about the shirt and tie and that standoffish. They want it's more relaxed. So it's our policy is just open door. Like we've got doctors that come into our office, help themselves to the beer fridge, grab a beer after a night shift, and then just chat to us about the shift. It's that kind of transparency, that approachable vibe that we wanted to go down. And the doctors can really lean on us, and really it just strengthens that relationship. So we thought of the company brand, we were thinking of animals that mate for life, and we wanted it to stand out. We were thinking there was like wolves and vultures, they mate for life, which can be quite apt in the recruitment space. But Gibbon stood out, and I was with a mate who's a lot better at SEO than I am. And he said, Gibbon, Gibbon, stands out. Go for it. We couldn't get Blugibbon with an E. That's a Chinese restaurant in the States. I've tried about 50 times to get the URL. I can't get the URL. So we just said, screw it, we'll knock the E off. And it's Blugibbon was started then. And we designed I've got my phone cover here, a little logo.
Like it.
And it just stood out. And the doctors seem to get into that groove as well. So yeah, it's just to be approachable, to be different, to stand out. So we've got different jobs than the typical shifts that kind of come out. So we've been really lucky. We've got quite a few rosters that we manage. So we're offering a bit more value to the client, to the hospital, than just shift filling and just trying to chase that reactive stuff. We're actually taking that issue away from the hospital. And we've got a good vibe going on at the moment.
So how long's the business been going?
7 years.
Right. And how many staff have you got?
So we've got 12. Right. 12 staff. Yeah.
Talk us now, let's go back to when COVID hit you, and what was it like? Because I think, China, obviously I was in Dubai when I first heard about COVID, and it was the end of Jan. It was my wife's birthday, and I was in I remember getting to the airport in Dubai and just seeing people with face masks everywhere. And I was like, what's this about? And then it started hitting the news more. And then all the ex-Premier League footballers were leaving, Chinese, like Igalo and Fellaini was leaving. It was all, and then Fellaini was in my hotel. And I was like, oh shit, he's just left China. He's in my hotel. But that was when end of Jan was where I first understood it. But I still thought, whatever. Like I remember traveling in 2010 when I went to Oz, and SARS was out. And, a lot of people were worried about SARS in Asia, but it didn't create a global pandemic. So I was like, it'll be like that. What was it like? When did you start hearing in Australia that this was getting quite serious?
I mean, we got a few cases that came in, and you heard on the news, there was a big hype over the cruise ships and what was going to happen with the cruise ships. And I remember it was a Thursday. I was on a phone call to a consultant in emergency medicine, a friend of mine. She's currently on mat leave, and she said, and we were just chatting, just catching up, just how's the baby, the rest of it. And then we just got on to the conversation of what do you think about corona? And I was quite blasé, like truthfully at that point. In the team, I was sort of saying, look, it's the flu. It's only going to affect really vulnerable. I think it's just a bit hyped up at the moment. We just obviously keep an eye on it. And then this friend of mine she said, Sam, the official medical reports just come out of Italy. This is serious. Like the ICU departments aren't going to be able to cope if the infection rate is as it said that it happened in Italy. And I was like, okay, well, what would be your recommendation? And she's isolate, like do what you can now. We were 2 weeks ahead of the official notice to kind of start working from home.
When was that for you? Was it early March? Was it?
I'd have to look at I forgot my yeah, so it was 9 weeks ago. It was early March. Yeah, I've got it on my signature on the bottom of my email. I forgot what the exact date was, but it was that Friday. I'd actually interviewed someone to start with us on the Tuesday. Did the references? She's from the UK. Did the references that Tuesday night. Offered her on the Wednesday, and then called her on the Thursday night to say this is going to be weird, but when office is closed, like you're starting on Monday, your first job in Australia with us. Do you want to work from my house? Like we're not breaking the rules because there was no rules put in place, but I'm going to have to give you a laptop and show you the system, like where anything is. So she worked from my house for that first week. And then we took the decision to take my daughter out of daycare. And then everything really started shutting up. And at that point, my colleague, the newest addition to the team, she started working from home after week one as well. I mean, the team kind of evolved. Everyone works differently at home, and everyone's got different environments and different family situations. It's been tricky to manage.
What's your life like? Your young family?
Yeah. So we've got Ruby. She's 3 days in daycare. My wife works 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. And she, luckily, her work. She works at a bank, and anyone that has kids and difficulty with childcare hasn't been allocated to a COVID-19 project. She's in IT. Right. So anyone that has the opportunity to pick up the workload has been allocated to like the mortgage freeze, incentives and all of the projects that have come out of this. So luckily we've been able to manage between the two of us. But some days, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I've been working from here. I'm at home now, and just been having to run out because Leanne's my wife's had to call and tapping in and out, and just kind of trying to tell the team when I am and not available. I set up an iPad. I've got it here, and I've just called it VR Sam. I've put it in the corner of the room and just set up like a continuous with Google Meet. So anyone could just jump in at any time and ask me a question. And I think that really helped with the kind of transparency. Just those little questions like, Sam, what are the terms of that client? Or, what do I do there? Have you booked the travel for that? The first 2 weeks was a nightmare because we had most of our work is in regional and remote Australia. Yes. So weird and wonderful locations. Like some of these doctors have to do 2 or 3 flights and trains and no, not trains, but hire cars and stuff to get to their final destination away from home. And it was like, I remember that Friday we closed the office. We'd actually had a weekend away with some friends booked that weekend. And there was, again, no guidelines or anything. And we weren't doing anything, like far wrong. Like we were still allowed to do it. And we kind of all met up. And on the Sunday morning, I got a call from my first doctor, and they said, she was at the airport in South Australia. She was due to go to Western Australia for a 3-week locum contract. And she goes, I can't go because I don't know whether I'm going to be allowed back into the state, into South Australia. South Australia put in one of the first border restrictions, and yeah, that was kind of the start of, right, we need to kind of make a plan for future travel.
So for you guys, it must have been a busier time than a quiet time. Like a lot of recruitment companies instantly saw their job flow just disappear, right? You guys must have seen it go up.
It was hectic, right? It was busy, but I wouldn't necessarily say the first couple of weeks were, the placements were coming through, but the cancellations were just as equal. So we were like robbing Peter to spare Paul. Like we'd have to cancel someone because their family commitments, so they couldn't get into the state or they couldn't travel. And then we'd have to backfill that with a local candidate that was in the state that didn't have any isolation or travel requirements. We had doctors at airports that just couldn't travel, that we thought that we'd booked them a flight. We couldn't book flights up until sort of 48 hours in advance. So we did a plan for 3 months from March and triaged, like just did a risk assessment on who high, medium and low risk. And if the high risk were anyone with a family that might have restrictions on childcare and schooling, like schools closing, and anyone we've got some doctors that used to fly in internationally. One of the doctors was due to do a 2 week on 2 week off rotation from Glasgow to Western Australia, because she couldn't get a GMC registration in place in the UK, so she had to earn an income while her husband was going to work in Glasgow. Husband's still gone to Glasgow, but she's now working. She's just full time now. She's not able to travel back to the UK.
People traveling every 2 weeks that distance.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That would ruin your sleep patterns, wouldn't it?
I know, but the doctors work funny shifts anyway, and going in days into nights, not straight away. But yeah, she was getting paid $2,000 a shift for 14 days, and then have 2 weeks off with her husband. But she decided to stay here.
A quick interruption of the episode to bring to you a message from our second sponsor, which is Odro. Odro, as most of you probably know, is the world's most powerful all-in-one video interview platform for recruiters. Used by thousands of recruiters worldwide and with some of the industry's biggest names amongst its client base, Odro is a video interview platform. It was developed specifically to help agencies increase their revenues. The most innovative solution on the market, Odro's software helps recruiters to engage more talent, reduce time to hire, and most importantly, it helps you win business. You'll even get the ROI back from investing in Odro within just 45 days. It's designed to benefit everyone in the process, so from recruiters to clients to candidates, Odro's platform is improving the hiring process one interview at a time. We chose to partner with Odro because we felt like both brands, Hoxo and Odro, were in such a clear alignment in the way that we approach everything we do and how passionate we are about helping this industry grow. If you want to find out more about how Odro can help your agency transform its process and win more business, win exclusivity and drive revenue, then click the link on the podcast notes and every social post that goes out, and you will get a call back by one of the Odro guys. They are awesome, and I'm sure they'll be able to offer some amazing value to your business. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show.
Yeah, she was getting paid $2,000 a shift for 14 days, and then have 2 weeks off with her husband. But she decided to stay here. That was actually the same doctor that was due to fly from South Australia. So we had to find her. So then we'd cancel the job in WA, try and find doctors in WA to replace. Luckily, we've got a network of guys all over the country, and we were able to forecast the ones that
are you up against competition to fill these jobs, or is it exclusive? Yeah.
So there's I'd say there's probably about 70 different entities in Australia that are doing medical recruitment. Some of those might be one-man bands just doing a particular area or a particular hospital or group, right the way up to there's 3 or 4 big companies out there with 70 plus headcount. So yeah, it's first in, best dressed. It's how reactive you can be with the compliance of the doctor, and hoping that you've got the relationship with the doctor to get the deal across the line. Yeah.
And how long are you normally dealing with really short-term projects, or is it always a longer term play?
We're lucky. Like, I mean, coming back to our brand, like it's all about that relationship. And I've been doing it here 15 years now, and we've got some really good long-term clients where they've kind of said to us, "This is our problem. Can you?" And we've come up with a long-term solution. So we'll take care of the roster. Where I've got a roster that's full now till halfway through to January till 2021. And it, that gives us a lot more kind of security. But at the same time, one of those rosters, the doctor was due to fly from New Zealand. He couldn't make it. So then I had to backfill that with someone else, get him there. And then it's just sort of a lot of swapping and changing. But all in all, like we've had some of our biggest weeks. Like week before last was our biggest week in terms of new revenue, new bookings on the board. And it's good just to see that things are opening up. But at the same time, we've got a GP team, general practice, and they've shut up shop basically. Like the GPs are doing telehealth and or opting not to work in. A lot of the general practice industry, the GPs are a bit older, so they've decided just not to work and take that risk, or they've not been ahead of the telehealth kind of flood of providers for telehealth. So we've kind of seen, and the travel component, we usually get a lot of GPs that sort of say, "Oh, I'm taking 2 weeks off leave. I want to go to this interesting place in indigenous community in Northern Territory." They just can't do that anymore. So the GP team, we've had to kind of think on our feet and quickly get the team kind of working on more of the hospitalist.
Yeah, so you've got to reallocate people and throw everything out.
Yeah.
What have your days been like in terms of time?
I've really tried to. We do like our mini one-to-one. I've really kind of enjoyed being at home, just to have a bit more time to myself to really think through the quality of those calls, and really, it's put a lot of just a realization on that time, because time has been tight and everyone's kind of so I've really wanted to maximize and make sure that those meetings are as valuable as possible and they get the most out of me during the time in terms of support. And I've had a few kind of breakthrough moments where I've had that time to kind of think of, am I actually serving the team as best as I can be? Like the one-to-ones were just getting to a point where it was just a commentary about the desk. And I was just like, this is shit. This isn't what this time's about. So I've actually stripped it all back, and I've engaged with people like HR people, and just got back to my roots really as to what I would want from that time when I was an employee speaking to the boss.
Yeah, true. What's your thought process around going back into the office full time? Have you changed your mantra a little bit on? Obviously, I know right now there's that nervousness, but let's just when COVID's over, are you going to go back to the same MD as you were before, or would you evolve the way that you operate to take some of the learnings you've had on board?
Absolutely. I think we had these ideas of once you've done 5 placements with a client, you actually work from the client's location for a half day or a day to bring in that kind of proximity and get to know the client even more intimately, and just understand what the job's like and what the place is like. But we've not really enforced it. It's more been like, we've got a big map in the office and we do the dots, but it's like actually forcing to do it's not happened. And I think now we're just realised that importance of face-to-face connection, and we're just going to value that so much more. So that's something that we're definitely going to really work on. But as I said, the flexibility was always there, but I'm still quite old school when it comes to the sales, and you've got to gear up and you've got to do your activity. But I saw Greg Savage was on here a few weeks ago, and I've done a few of his courses, and but now there still has to be that environment, and we do have a few junior recruiters in the office, and that training and the mentoring and on the tool coaching is so important. But at the same time, you can get so much done when you're on your own without that distraction, and it's just enforced the trust that I've got in the team to get the job done from wherever they want to be. So it's kind of empowered us all naturally in a weird way, and just kind of really focus on each other's time.
So would you see yourself maybe 1 or 2 days a week at home, or would it be still 5 in the office?
I think for me, yeah, I'd started doing a Wednesday from home, so I could have I wasn't working. It was just a day off looking after my daughter, so I could have that quality time when she was younger. I couldn't get the traction at doing 2 days on and then 2 days at the end of the week, and Friday afternoons, beers were opening up anyway, if we'd had a good week. So it wouldn't really work, but definitely now I've quite high energy, and I tend to go into my, just keep working. If there's a particular project that's there, well, there's always something you can do doing in recruitment, right? So I used to be a lot stricter going in early, and if I'm an early bird, if I'm in early, leaving early, so I get that quality time at home. But I'd stopped doing that, and I think I started kind of wearing me out a bit in terms of my energy levels. So I'm just going to be strict with myself. If I'm in early, I'm getting home, so I can have that balance. So, and I've kind of said to the team, just force me to do that as well, and we're all kind of in it together. But I think, yeah, we're all work differently as well. Some people are better in the mornings and better in the evenings. And again, I can sometimes take that old school approach where it's like, you've got to be in it, you've got to make, your 10 calls by 10. But some of our best clients are in Western Australia. So I'm not going to enforce people to make a pointless phone call when it's all about that quality. And again, just trying to get that proximity and make the most out of each relationship, which can't be forced.
What I like is you've clearly thought about the learnings more than some people I've spoken to in the past. Like it sounds to me like you've really analysed it and gone, I've liked this, I like that. And that's kind of my mindset. So I'm listening to a book called The 5 a.m. Club, recommended by a guy called Chris Redmond, who I had on the show, who's a mate and a client of mine. And it talks about that, we're all living in a world where, and obviously the book didn't know coronavirus would happen or anything, but it talks about everyone living in a time poor world where they don't give themselves any personal time. They don't free up anything dedicated to themselves. And that 5 a.m. club's about giving yourself a couple of hours in the morning, or even 1 hour of your time to like master something or master your own mind. And so I'm 8:30 now in the UK, and I've been up since, I didn't get up at 5. I'm struggling. I'm getting there. About 5:30 today. I'm trying to knock like 15 minutes a day to get towards 5. But it is, I mean, like already this morning, I've managed to plan my day, looked at some numbers. I've done 15 minutes yoga, 30 minutes weights. I've swept and cleaned the flat. I've took the dog out for a walk. And now I'm doing a podcast, and it's not even 9 o'clock. And again, I've always been quite an early guy and quite productive, but I'm like, can I go back now to jumping on the tube at like 6:37 and get? I don't know if I want. I might.
I was on the bike the other day, the first day back on the bike, and I'm cycling, and I'm just like, 40-minute cycle. I'm like, I could have spent some quality time with Leanne and Ruby. I could have done. I've got my outdoor gym that is just here. Yeah. Look, I've been so lucky. I've got a garden, and I've had that outdoor space. I bought all the gadgets. I bought the pull-up bar. I bought a bloody piece of plastic that tells me where to put my arms in different positions.
Oh wow!
Right, it's rubbish, but I like a gadget just to force. I even bought myself, the speed ball that all the boxers use.
Really, you got one of them?
Week one, I thought, I'm working from home. I can have my headset on and I could be speedballing and get some exercise while I'm doing it. That's probably annoyed the hell out of the doctors. But it was the only thing it ended up being is a laugh for the team watching me trying to do it on my iPad. But yeah, you think of that time wasted on the commute, and again, it just makes you appreciate the time that you've got at home, and it makes you kind of work a bit.
I think for me, it's variation, right? If you do anything every day, you're going to get a little bit. Yeah. It's going to get a little bit too much. I think having a couple of days of balance and, going and seeing people. Yesterday, even I went to see The Office. I told you we were supposed to record yesterday, but because of we got burgled yesterday in our office. Oh, we were burgled at the weekend, but found out yesterday morning. I was in there and I met my business partner for the first time in 8 weeks. We speak every day on video, but that was weird but great. And even we had to go around and look at the inventory and see what was taken. But actually, in a way, I enjoyed just getting out. I was surprised how busy it was when I drove into the office, and it was nice just it made me feel like there's a world out there.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten.
Because you do get very insular, like where natural recruiters and marketing, and that we need that. We thrive on that personal connection, and you do get so much more. We're in like a co-working sort of environment with different healthcare practitioners, and they've kind of managed to keep open because they've got medical essential services. And I was chatting to the owner, who's a doctor as well, yesterday, and he was just saying the psychologist to the psychiatrist that you can naturally kind of lean to telehealth and this kind of scenario, what we're doing now, but it's everything else that's in that environment. It's the little leg twitch when someone's kind of, that body, you get so much more. And I think whilst learning that, I know everyone that we can work remotely and you can get so much done, and it might be a bit of a waste of time on the commute. It's that you build up so much more of that bond and that relationship when you're in it together and sharing the highs and the lows, because champagne and razor blades, like in any recruitment, and you got to help each other through it. And it can be lonely when you're in your kitchen table or box office.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. One thing I wanted to cover, I don't know if you're not an expert potentially on this, but you are connected to the medical side of things.
Yeah.
Like the sheer volume of cases and deaths in Australia is just ridiculously low. Like, and we're getting on for 40,000 deaths. I don't know how many cases a day, 1,500 or whatever. I don't even know the numbers, but it's coming down. But it's an incredible amount. Obviously, we've got a lot more people than ours. We've got a lot less space than ours. I get there's some factors, but what do you think you guys did differently or what did you do that enabled you to contain it so well?
Yeah, I think we've got the natural, as you touched on, the natural space, and we're not on top of each other as much in the UK. We were panicking here just with the natural outlook of Australia is the fair income, quite relaxed approach and blasé approach, like I was at first, and we were thinking it's very similar to like the Italian way of life, and the way that it's just it's very social, hugs and quite relaxed approach, that we wouldn't listen to the rules. But Australia, they have we've got the board, so the borders I think have played a big. There's so much travel usually interstate. And when they kind of started shutting down the borders, it's like shutting down counties in the UK. You could actually isolate these towns and these hotspots, and that just automatically stops it. And you guys have still got the travel that's only just stopped. There's the strict 14-day isolation in the UK has only just come into play now. We had it like we're 2 months ago.
Sunday now they're saying we can go where we want now, and as long as you're 2 meters apart, you can meet whoever you want, kind of thing. It's like it seems a bit too soon for that. But
the infection rate's still so high, but you can understand where governments are coming from with the push for economic.
100%, like there's a lot of uproar about Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and why they locked down and the UK haven't. Oh, sorry, England haven't. And I think the economic impact of England and London, Manchester, London, Birmingham, these cities they're mega, like they're massive. And I mean, I'm not saying there's not economy in Wales and Scotland and Ireland, but Northern Ireland, but it ain't the same level. And I think it's all about that. There's got to be that reason why it's pushing people to do things. But it's great to see. It's
just got to be the distance, because like some of the places, it's a 12-hour drive to get up to Queensland from where I am. And if the flights are not running, you just can't do it. And then they brought in the quarantine restrictions. So if you went into Queensland, you had to self-isolate. So it just stopped that travel, and that just stopped the spread, because it is just so.
When you say they shut the borders, literally how? Like all the roads are blocked. Like there's
they had police blocks. It was only really kind of strict for a couple of weeks. I had a couple of doctors traveling the border. Doctors are exempt as an essential worker, and they had to. But this is the difficult part of our job. Every border, different rules and different applications and different kind of ways of doing it. So Queensland, for example, you have an application to apply as an essential worker, and then they will grant you access or not. And I spoke to a mate of mine is up on the Sunshine Coast, but his house is down in Sydney, and he was panicking. Like, am I going to get across the border? Am I going to have to isolate in New South Wales, or am I going to have to isolate back in Queensland? Because I'm needed back at my Queensland hospital. I'm on the roster for next week, but I need to be in Sydney to, my partner's down there, and I've got stuff that needs to happen down there as well. But when he kind of called me as he was passing through the border, he went through no problem. But I think 2 weeks before that, it was a lot stricter. But I think any of the airports and stuff have just been, they've been policed, and obviously customs and stuff, just making sure.
You guys now, obviously back in the office, semi back. Cafes and restaurants, everything starting to open as well, or?
Half, yeah. I mean, my favourite coffee shop's not open yet, but in the same precinct, there's 2 others. Yeah. So their options are there. You just can't sit down. I think from Friday, the new rule is that you're allowed 10 people in a restaurant or cafe at one time. So it's quite like.
It shouldn't be based on people. It should be based on space, surely. Because if you've got a coffee shop that's the size of my living room or one the size of a park, then it's different. 10 people.
I think it's a maximum, but you still got to have the distance. My colleague's just booked a dinner with her friends on Saturday night in Surrey Hills, and she's like, "I'm going to have the restaurant to myself. It's going to be like an exclusive dining experience." I'm like, "I'm going to be able to stay there all night." I'm like, "I'm sure there's going to be like a curfew for."
We went and stayed in a new Shoreditch hotel, the Curtain. So new, it's not. It's quite new. The week I closed the office on the Thursday. The government guidelines weren't closing just yet. So I think it was the following week it went into lockdown. So I was about 7-8 days ahead. But we booked the Curtain on the Saturday night. So we were like, what do we do? We thought we'll just go. Like, what else are we doing? Like, there's no one's telling us we can't go. I rang up the hotel. I was like, look, are you open? Is there any reason? They were, no, we've got strict rules and we're cleaning everywhere all the time, blah, blah, blah. I got there. There was about 4 residents in the whole hotel. And like they upgraded us to a nice room, which is great. But might as well have been at home. It was like, there's no one in it. Like literally no one. The restaurant dead. Anywhere was dead. I was like, it's pointless. So it's probably going to be a bit like that in a lot of places. They'll be open, but how busy they'll be, I don't know.
I think Western Australia, they're opening up Airbnb and hotels from Friday as well. And because there's different regions within Western Australia, so they're opening those up as well, and regional travel again within WA. But WA itself is still isolating from the rest of the country, because they're probably ahead of the curve.
They're the most isolated city in the world, or state in the world.
5-hour flight.
Isn't it isn't the closest city to Perth, Kuala Lumpur? I'm sure I read that.
Really?
Geographically, the closest city is KL, I think, or something like that. It's not in Australia anyway, the closest city.
We look after a lot of the mining towns in WA, and some of the mining, like that, you can fly from Port Hedland straight over to Bali.
Yeah.
So we've got the fly in, fly out workers base themselves in Bali.
2 weeks on. Yeah, well, you get paid a fortune in Oz to mine, and then you pay peanuts and live like a king in Bali. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Sam, look, that's all we've got time for, mate. I really enjoyed the chat, and thanks for taking the time. I know I've been a bit of a nightmare trying to get this in, and a few things have happened.
I'm sorry to read the news, yeah.
Oh, it's all right. We'll get through it. You got to stay positive. But look, if anyone does listen to this show and wants to reach out to you as a result to find out any more, or just ask some questions, you're open to a chat?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, anytime. You can go to my website. It's all there.
Brilliant. All right. Well, I'll tag you on LinkedIn as well, so anyone can get you on there. And let's get you. We're going to get you in for a full episode of the Rag podcast, because I think there's a real story there about how you got to Australia and all the rest of it. We're going to tell it on a longer version. But thank you so much, and let's keep in touch.
Nice one. Cheers, Sean.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you do me a favor. I don't ask for any money to listen, but I do ask you to do one thing, which is share the episode. So get on LinkedIn, put your comments on there, send it to a friend, a colleague, a boss, even your competitors. Together, if we're all listening every day to shared information, we will get through this stronger. I'll be back again tomorrow with more information for you. But in the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.